Joining me in the studio is Erin Keefe, the concertmaster of the Minnesota Orchestra. Erin will be performing the Bruch Violin Concerto No. 1 with the orchestra this coming week and weekend. Erin, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Would you tell the story of how you came to the violin? It's a terrific story.
Well, I grew up in a family of academics. So my dad was an English lit professor at UMass, and my mom was director of HR at Smith College. And my dad was a huge music fan. And so he decided that music education would be part of my childhood. And originally, he actually picked the piano. And our friends were getting rid of their old upright piano. So we tried to fit it in the house. And, it was an old New England house, and the entryway was teeny. And they just couldn't make it work. So my mom was like, well, it's fine. You'll still have lessons, and you can practice at Smith College in a practice room. And the week of my first lesson, the piano teacher had a stroke, which was horrible. But, she lived for another 30 years, so it wasn't too serious. But they thought maybe that was a sign that piano was not going to be my instrument.
It was not for you.
No, it was not meant to be. And so then I was given the choice of violin or cello. And I am nothing if not practical, and I decided that carrying a cello was not something that I thought would be fun for me. And so I ended up with violin, sort of a roundabout way.
And I understand you started taking Suzuki violin lessons.
I did. I started with the Suzuki method when I was 7 in my hometown of Northampton, Massachusetts. But my dad was really interested in putting me into an orchestral program. And so he found that there was a new program at the Hart School at the University of Hartford. And so he decided that he, in his spare time, would bring me to Hart for Saturday orchestra. And it was really a special program because, at this point I was 8 and I was playing in a real orchestra with, colleagues my own age. And I barely knew how to read music at this point. So it was really a wonderful opportunity for me to collaborate with people at such an early age.
When were you introduced to the Bruch Concerto?
Well, the Suzuki method has 10 books, so there's dozens of pieces you learn, the last 2 books being 2 of the Mozart concerti. And so Bruch in my studio was sort of the first quote-unquote real concerto that you got to learn. And so I was about 13, and I remember thinking, how am I ever going to play this? This is so difficult. There are tenths in the last movement, and to be honest, it still stresses me out to this day. But I was about 13, and I probably played it that whole entire year, I'm guessing.
And so you were 13 years old. And in some ways, the Bruch Concerto is given to young whippersnapper players like you were at the age of 13. I suspect that when you play the Bruch later this weekend, there are going to be many young violinists listening to you play this piece because they are starting to learn this piece. Do you feel a sense of responsibility introducing this piece to young players?
I really do. In some ways, it's almost more stressful than playing something like a Bartok concerto or Shostakovich, a little bit more, something you learn a little bit later, because I know that these students have been listening to countless recordings, and all of their favorite violinists have recorded it, or they can find videos on YouTube. And so I feel actually quite a lot of pressure this week. I'm doing it from memory. I don't play from memory that often anymore, being in the orchestral field. So it's a different kind of pressure than I've felt actually playing other concerti for the last 13 years here.
Your Minnesota Orchestra bio says that you love to bake and you love to cook. If the final movement of the Bruch were a dish you were going to serve to guests, what would it be?
That's a tough question. First of all, there would have to be some champagne involved because it is a very, very celebratory piece. So you'd pop the champagne, and then there's some spice in it. I was thinking maybe like a papaya salad, like a Thai salad that's sweet but has fish sauce in it and jalapenos. But then there's some comfort food in there. So for me, that would have to be some mac and cheese and some chocolate in some form.
Erin Keefe, thank you for coming in, and all the best for the Bruch Concerto later this week.
Thank you so much.